You lift me off of the ground. I close my eyes and I wait for the come down. I used to live.
Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Adete and today I'm going to talk about 20 things I no longer buy. Think of this video as like an anti-haul because I'm so sick and tired of haul videos. So over the past 2 years, I have drastically reduced the amount of money that I spend on materialistic things, so to speak. So this includes everything from fashion items to decor items to makeup and skincare, etc. And that was mostly because I realized that I was not really using these products earlier when I was buying them, and I was just spending so much money on them. And also because I wanted to be more intentional with what I bought. So now I am slowly and steadily decluttering and getting rid of things that no longer serve a purpose, or things that I've owned for a really long time but I have never essentially used.
But I remember we threw our face in the air singing.
The first one on my list is chemical deodorants and perfumes, and this is something that I haven't used for a very long time. I think close to 8 years or something, and that is because they are so bad for your body. The number of chemicals that go into deodorants and perfumes is just absolutely insane. If you want to check out whether your perfume or your deodorant is actually safe to use, you can check out this website called EWG, which stands for Environmental Working Group. They are an activist group that specialize in research and advocacy in areas of agricultural subsidies, toxic chemicals, drinking water pollutants, and corporate accountability. And they have an extensive library on the different ingredients and the different chemicals that go into skincare products or house care products, and you can actually search ingredient by ingredient. They also have a list of several brands and their products and how safe they are to use. Excellent resource to check out if you are wanting to move towards a more chemical-free lifestyle. The second thing on my list is foundation. Considering that I am a social media content creator and I need to put on makeup on a very regular basis, this seems kind of like but I just have stopped using foundation. The only thing that I use is BB cream and sometimes like a concealer if I need like spot correction or something of that sort. I haven't used foundation in 2 years. I still have my last one from Estee Lauder, which I purchased I think 4 years ago, lying, and half a bottle of that is still left. I just don't like how heavy it feels and how it looks, and I think a concealer and a BB cream are just a lot more natural and just give you that slight sheen and make your skin look like prepped up but still not made up. The third item on my list is scrub loofahs and scrub mitts. Again, the reason for this is that because most of them are made of plastic. I did end up buying the one that was made of like palm and some sort of pumice stone thingy a couple of years back, but I realized that I don't use it as much as the money that I invested in it. It cost like 2,000 bucks and I used it a total of like 10 times. So it doesn't really make sense for me to invest in loofahs. The plastic ones are a big no-no. They just scratch your skin, they cause irritation for me and like all sorts of rashes, so I don't use them, and the natural ones are just not worth the investment. Whenever I need like a scrub, I just make this homemade paste sort of thing with oatmeal and orange peel powder and things like that and use that instead, and it's much more nourishing, it's very soothing, it smells amazing, and it's very easy on the pocket. The fourth thing is chunky wallets. And I realized that I had been buying like big wallets and chunky wallets for the longest time, and half of the space in them never gets utilized. Plus, they never fit into any bag that you need to, take when you're going out. The size of the bags keeps getting smaller and the size of the wallets keeps getting larger. So now I have shifted to a card holder, and it's just so much more convenient. You just put in your cards, your cash, and you can throw it in any bag, or you can just keep it in your pocket and you're good to go. It makes me feel more functional, and I don't think I really need to invest in wallets. The fifth thing is trendy clothes and shoes. About 4 years ago, I think I got this promotion in my job and I was like, yay, so much more money for shopping. And I spent a lot of it like on websites like Shein, H&M. Oh god, the amount of bullshit that I had and bought and then never ended up using, or like just used like a couple of times because usually the quality was quite bad and trendy clothes are not something that you wear on a regular basis. At least I don't. The whole experience wasn't very enriching or fulfilling, or as fulfilling as I had hoped. So I realized that it was a lot of money down the drain. Since then, I made it like a conscious point to not invest in trendy clothing because every influencer is wearing that. Most of it doesn't suit my personal taste or my body type, and it's not even comfortable. So now I invest in like good key pieces, staple pieces that I can mix and match and wear over and over again. The next item on my list is nail paints. So the last time I bought a nail paint was, I think, again 2 years ago, and I have like 4 or 5 nail paints still, and they miraculously haven't dried out, but they are ones that are really old. And whenever I want to paint my nails, एक तो नाखून बड़े नहीं होते मेरे, ठीक है, तो इनको पेंट करने का ऐसे कोई शौक वो होता नहीं है. And if I ever really want like good nails, I will just go ahead and give myself like one of those acrylic thingies, touch-ups, and unke upar the nail paint lasts forever, so I don't really need to invest in nail paint. And yeah, I don't even go to the salon anymore. I got my own nail crafting kit sort of thing, and I can do it at home, and it lasts for like 2-3 weeks, and that's about how long I can tolerate it as well. So yeah, no nail paints. The next item on my list is expensive skincare. And trust me, I have tried it all, from the very top end brands to like the base brands, and I have tried all the moisturizers. Not all, like you get the exaggeration. I have tried so many moisturizers. I spent so much money on skincare. It is not funny, and my skin keeps changing, and somehow every time I've tried an expensive skincare item, it has never worked, like ever, except for I think Kama's Kumkumadi oil, which was very nice, but I haven't used it in 5 years because my skin has a mind of its own. It just keeps changing and switching, and so now I stick to facial oils, and I keep switching between brands just to see which one's better, which one's not. The current one that I'm using is from Plum. Absolutely love it. It's, I think, one of the things that has worked out the best for my skin in a really long time. It's not expensive. It has a little bit of a fragrance though, which I feel they could have avoided, but well. The next thing that I stopped completely purchasing is disposable makeup wipes. Again, there's a lot of chemicals that go into these makeup wipes, and the few times that I've used them, they've ended up giving me a rash. So it is not, again, worth spending the money. Plus, the material that the wipes are made of is not biodegradable. It's essentially plastic, and it's just not good for the environment. It's not good for you. It's just not worth buying and not worth the investment. The next thing that I don't put my money in or don't buy is most salon services. I know how to cut my own hair. I know how to do my own nails. I don't get manicures and pedicures because frankly, I just don't need them that often. I have gotten them a couple of times, but in the entirety of the 29 years that I've been alive, I think I've gotten them about 5 times in total. And I don't get waxing done because my skin is sensitive, doesn't suit me. I just think shaving is a much better option. So yeah, I hardly go to the salon. Sometimes like once a year I'll maybe go to get a professional haircut, but that is about it. The next thing on my list is hairbrushes. Now I have had my fair share of experience with different kinds of hairbrushes. My biggest irritation with them is that they attract so much dust, and it's very difficult to wash them. A comb is just a much easier alternative, and I still have one forlorn hairbrush lying in my cupboard, which is just absolutely a mess. Like every time I have to put in my hair, it just makes me cringe because the amount of धूल that is there. तो यहाँ पे हर चीज में धूल इतनी जम जाती है ना यार. It's super irritating. The next thing that I have stopped purchasing completely is duplicate items. What I mean by this is not like a duplicate Prada bag or something. What I mean is like 2 things of the same item, like 2 face washes or 2 moisturizers or 2 black t-shirts or 2 pairs of running shoes or 2 or multiple is what I mean. So yeah, I don't have multiples of any sort of item in my wardrobe or in my skincare, and I try to do that for my house as well, like in terms of utensils and everything. I do have a lot of coffee mugs. but that's mostly because of the shooting aspect of it that I have to do for the Nutty Kitchen, and I need a couple of different options whenever I'm doing that. But apart from that, we try in our house to have not more than one of every item, because frankly, उससे ज़्यादा use ही नहीं होता. And even in clothing, if I have 3 black t-shirts, I'm always going to end up wearing that one t-shirt till it gets worn out, and then I have to think that I have to wear these other 2 or choose from these other. It is just a lot of mental energy spent. So, no to duplicate items. The next thing on my list is purchasing mobile phones every year. Up until 2018, I think I used to get a phone every year or like twice in a year, and I had I have tried so many different phones. It's not even funny. I used to spend so much money on them. I was always wanted to have like the latest phone or the latest gadget, and yeah, after a point in time, it just became so cumbersome because every time you buy a new phone, you have to switch and transfer all of your data, and then you have to set it up. And I still love like new technology. I get excited if it's about a new camera or a new phone or a new laptop or something of that sort. But I've intentionally chosen not to invest in new pieces of technology till the time that my old one is working. So that stands for phones, laptops, anything else in between. The 13th item on my list is cheap coffees. And by cheap, I don't mean like in terms of money cheap, but in terms of quality cheap. So I have been drinking coffee for about a decade, or maybe even over a decade. Yeah, since I was 18, so over a decade, slightly over a decade. The transition that I've seen from Nescafe to now going to ground coffee and making pour-overs for myself has been quite the journey. For the first 6-7 years of me drinking coffee, I had no idea that the world of coffee was this different. There was something besides instant coffee that you could actually consume. I have completely stopped using brands like Nescafe or Brew, which if you go back to drinking them after you've had like real coffee, brewed coffee, you figure out that they taste a lot like mitti or mud, and I don't know where that is coming from. So I'm glad I just made that switch and that decision to no longer have cheap coffee. The next item on my list is cable DTH. I haven't had cable in 5 years now. Since 2016, I haven't had cable, and that's mostly because there is no value that I get from cable. So once I moved out of my house and started living by myself, it just didn't make sense to have cable. I have a Netflix subscription, which I dearly love, although I don't use it as much as I should. But I think that's a lot better investment, or a much better investment than cable DTH, which I think is just coming out to be completely useless at this point, at least in my life. So yeah, no to that. The next thing that I've stopped buying is magazine subscriptions. I think I've gone completely digital in terms of reading, or in terms of my reading habits, and magazine subscriptions no longer make sense. Plus, I think the content in magazines has failed to evolve with time, especially the ones in India like these, Cosmo and Femina and blah blah blah. They still do a lot of the same stuff that was being done about a decade ago, and it doesn't interest me anymore. And a lot of my reading comes from websites and blogs and these wonderful places on the internet that provide a lot more value. And most of these actually don't have subscriptions, so yeah, magazine subscriptions are just out the window. The next thing on my list is body lotions. Again, mostly because it has a lot of chemicals. Body lotions, I don't know what goes into them, and I was made aware of all of this when I started reading EWG. So please go check out that website and just try and understand what is in the skincare products that you're using. There's mostly US and UK based brands in there, but since a lot of those brands are becoming popular in India as well, you find a lot of data. If you can't find your particular brand, you can just Google and research the individual ingredients, and it helps you figure out what the score of your product is when it comes to the harmfulness scale. So just like I use face oils for my face, I use body oils for my body, like essentially the same oil. Sometimes I use olive oil and olive oil on my face and my body, and it's just, I think, a lot better for the skin as well, a lot better for the body as well. It doesn't irritate, for me personally. Okay, so the next thing on my list is a pretty big one, which is packaged milk. So all of your Amul, Mother Dairy, things like that. The adulteration level for milk in India is exceptionally high, which means what you're getting in your packet, you never know if it's real milk or not. In most cases, it's not. So I'm not a huge dairy person either, which is why I think I can get away for the most part without a lot of dairy consumption. I tend to use nut milks that are produced by the Nutty Kitchen most of the time, so almond and hazelnut are my favorite. But there are times like when you need milk, definitely. For example, if I have to set curd or if I want to eat yogurt and stuff. So we are lucky enough to have a friend who actually has a cow, and occasionally when we need it, we can just request them and they send it over, and we use actually pure, unadulterated, free of hormones A2 milk, which actually proves a lot more beneficial and is a lot healthier than just consuming chemical-laden, hormone and antibiotic-laden packaged milk. The next item on my list is plastic straws. Big no-no. I recently got metal straws. Before that, I was just not using straws at all. I don't think there's usually a need. But now that I have them, I think they're a lot more sanitary, especially when you're going out and you can carry them in your purse and use them to drink so that there's no contamination and you don't have to touch the surface of the glass, etc. etc. So yeah, plastic straws are super bad for the environment. They're made of very cheap quality plastic, so they're not really good for you either, like when you're consuming drinks through them. So it's very, very mindful if you can avoid plastic straws altogether. They end up in landfills, they end up choking sea animals, they end up getting to the ground and not degrading for 500-600 million years. Pretty much one of the worst things for the environment, to be very honest, and completely avoidable. The next thing on my list is something that is feminine hygiene and also plastic related, and those are pads and tampons. Couple of reasons for not using them. I have switched to menstrual cups, which I find a lot more convenient, and it takes a little bit of like a learning curve to understand how to use a menstrual cup. But once you do, it becomes a lot more convenient. It's so much better for your body, it's so much better for the environment. So pads and tampons basically are made up of different layers of these chemically treated fabric and plastic that help absorb the menstrual blood. These chemicals can leach into the private parts, cause irritation, rashes, a host of other problems. They can become quite unsanitary. Tampons especially have been linked to something called the toxic shock syndrome, which is where if people forget to take out the tampon, it can actually lead to internal infection and in some cases result in death as well. I have been looking for alternatives to pads and tampons for the longest time, and I think 2 years ago is when I started using menstrual cups. They have been a game changer completely. One cup can last up to 10 to 15 years, and if you clean it properly and use it in a hygienic manner, there is absolutely nothing to worry about. And it is super cost effective. One cup I think costs somewhere around 600-700 bucks. And if it's lasting you 10 years as compared to the amount of money that you spend on pads and tampons every month, is just insane. And the final item on my list is knickknacks and souvenirs. So I was never a knick-knacky person, and in between when I started watching all of this home decor content and like travel content, and I found people having like a load of sentimental value with these chotu souvenirs and chotu knickknacks. It kind of made me want to jump the gun and buy those, but then I realized that managing them, keeping them clean is such a huge hassle, and I'm not the kind of person who will do it. So I think it makes a lot more sense to not have them. Plus, I find them usually to be a waste of money. So the kind of decor that I invest in is mostly artwork, or I paint myself, so I kind of use that as well. And plus I come from an army background as an army kid. Souvenirs were the thing that you got, Crystal especially. Every army household would have like these tiny crystal pieces all over, decorated over the house. And as I grew older, that kind of just got to me and irritated me a lot, and it was just like too much clutter. So that is why I don't like clutter, so I don't invest in those or purchase those anymore, and I'm super happy with that. And that concludes my list. I hope you got some value out of it, and if you're looking to start your minimalism journey, maybe this helped you. maybe you found inspiration in this, and if you did, let me know in the comments, and also let me know if these kind of videos are like fun to watch and you'd like more of these. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.